So, Angela, you certainly have a front stage seat into our agents and how they're engaging in the marketplace, and no one spends more time with everyone than you on this. So I'm kind of curious just to hear your feedback on the topic today about agent feedback, weekly feedback, or a feedback system for our listings. How are our agents doing on this? So if maybe let me ask the question this way. Do you think most of our agents are systematizing their weekly feedback? Well, and that's the second question. Is it as frequent as weekly? How is that being handled these days?
I would say that our agents, we do beat this drum pretty loudly. I mean, ever since I've been here, we've been beating this drum to make sure you do this. But I would say our agents are better than most. However, I think there is some upping the game in the way they go about it. I think that most of them are pretty committed to a weekly conversation. I don't know how systematized it is, but I believe that we can all do even better with our face-to-face, voice-to-voice. So I feel like a lot of it does tend to be more text and email communication, which I am definitely guilty of as well. So the encouragement to get more face-to-face, voice-to-voice during these conversations. So how systematized it is, I'm not quite sure, honestly. I mean, maybe 50-50 on that.
Well, and I'm open to pushback, feedback, and I think the approach that I'm advocating for here is probably more systematized than what some people would feel comfortable with, because some of us are lower on the follow-through.
Yes, our Colby,
Yeah, and maybe have a more casual or loose approach to this, and yet still have the volume dialed up, and they're very frequent and consistent. Yeah. And that would be fine too, right?
Yeah.
So I think as we jump into today's topic of a weekly update system, know that I'm approaching this very intentionally as a system.
Yep.
And I think what I'm trying to point out is the components of that system that you need to make sure you have in place. Now, if you've got a way to do this that's slightly different, there's no perfect answer here.
I agree.
What we know for sure is that we've got to dial up the frequency, we've got to dial up the volume, and we've got to be incredibly intentional about feedback in this environment.
Yeah, and I like the way that we're going to talk through this today, because I feel like we were used to, feedback. Like I just have constant showings that are providing feedback. So I was just doing that as I go. And I have that as a way to talk to my people all the time. And that is not necessarily the case now. So I think you really do need to get more intentional and systematized right now.
So we just got done talking about the Love-O-Meter. Hopefully you've listened to that. If not, go back, because it does set the stage here. Obviously, the context we've got is extended days on market. We've got clients that are seeing your face every day as they pull in and out of their driveway.
Yep.
And we're trying to beat the clock of the eventual reality where they start to absolutely hate your guts.
Yep.
Not because of you, not because of who you are, or even what you're doing, but because what you represent, which is the person that has not yet sold their house and is keeping them from being where they need to be and killing their hopes and dreams.
Yep. That sounds,
So two starting points as reminders on discussing weekly feedback systems, or ongoing communications really is a better way to put this. One, remember our goal. At the end of the day, we're trying to build an advocate. And that, I know I've said that I think on every episode, but it is the backdrop.
It is the foundation for all of this.
The impetus for why we're having this conversation is there's a new kind of stress, and to build an advocate here means we're going to have to, we have to address how people feel. And I guess that's why we started with the Love-O-Meter before we actually went to this topic.
Yeah.
So remember that the goal of every listing is not just to sell it or to even keep them sane enough to get to the point that we get the offer. It's that on the back end of this, what they're going to, and maybe remember is the wrong word, because they're not going to remember all the details, but they are going to remember how the process made them feel.
Feeling along the way, yes.
And so our communication isn't about sharing the information with them.
Yes.
Our communication is essentially more about creating this emotional connection, and think of it more like a therapy session, maybe is the right way to put this. We are guides and consultants through this incredibly strenuous and psychologically taxing process. And our goal is to be connecting on an ongoing basis to measure the temperature, check where things are at, make tweaks as we need to. I think that we falsely think that the point of these is to provide the facts and then to eventually get a price reduction. And I think that's part of the problem is our clients feel like they've been duped sometimes into
this is what you've been trying to get me to do.
This is the price you presented, and now you're trying to get a price reduction because your marketing sucks. And so, I know that in the next coming weeks, we're going to discuss product, price, promotion, and patience, the new four Ps of marketing. But with that in mind, building advocates, what is the goal of this communication? Yeah. And then the second thing I think I've already said, which is it's about how we make them feel. Yeah. And I want to point out, like, something that you're doing, like, physically, is like really like that back and forth. I think that's the key to this. It is a conversation. And I would say that is the piece that I would love our agents to dial in even more, is making sure the dialogue is coming from their clients as well, and really opening up and honestly asking how they're feeling along the way too, because that's going to be how you're going to get that out of them versus I'm the expert, just go. It's a PowerPoint. Here's my presentation of data. Yes. So I thought I would take a tangent today and touch on, just because I'm a philosophy nerd. Yep. But I think it's worth thinking about. And so as we're about to get into how to handle a week and how to handle the 30 or 21 day review, and how to set the stage and how to handle communication as a system. But as we approach this, I really want to get into this ethos, logos, pathos idea. These are Greek words. They are essentially the three different modes of persuasion. And if you get into negotiation, or if you get into psychological persuasion, they're typically represented as a triangle, the 3 points of persuasion. And so I know that our feedback isn't trying to convince anyone. We're not trying to sell, but we are. Yeah. What we're selling is keeping people on track. We're selling keeping them on the path that we set out on initially. Yes. And all three of these things have to be addressed inside of these communications that are going on. You might not be able to see it, and it might be hard to map, but technically, if you watch any communication going on effectively, you're going to see all three of these being touched on. And when one or two are missing, what you end up with is a failure to actually communicate. Yeah. So it's ethos, being awareness of all of them, Well, so ethos is, I think, where we think communication has to start. Ethos is about your credibility and your trust. And so I'm just trying to think of good examples of ethos in a weekly feedback scenario. Well, let me cover all three of them and let's go back. Yep. Ethos is your credibility and your trust, because people have to trust you before they're going to trust your message. It's like people have to know that you care before they care what you know. Yep. Pathos is going to be your emotions and your feelings. And there's a huge psychological element to what's obviously going on in this communication. It's been a week. I'm frustrated. I know that this call's coming. We're going to have it. Maybe he or she wants to say what they're actually feeling or thinking, but the other party does or doesn't. Yes. There's a whole bunch of emotion and feeling going on, and part of our job through mirroring and labeling is to pull some of that feeling out. Yes. And that's super key, because what we want to do as an agent is we feel like we've failed. It's been 2-3 weeks. Nothing's happened. We thought it was going to go quicker. And we tend to hide. And then we get in like, don't share. Because we've got emotions going on too. And we're not being professionals enough. And so we're not separating that inside of our closet and showing up as the professional and the guy. Yeah. So there's ethos, credibility, and trust. There's our pathos, which is our emotions and feelings. And then there's the logos, which is our logic and reason. And I think most of you, just in hearing those three things, you can quite quickly do the math or the calculus. We tend to show up to these conversations with logos. Yes. Here's the facts. Here's what you need to do. Here's the rationality. Here's the justification for why we need to just be patient, or we need to hold the line, or we need to drop the price. Drop the price, yep. Mm-hmm. Whatever it might be. And I think what I want you guys to hear is that we will not win on the logos on side. Alone. Well, and not that alone. I think that needs to be the thing we get to. Yeah. I think you got to start with ethos. And I think that's reminding people whose side we're on. Yes. I think that's reminding them of how much we value them as a client. Reminding them at the end of the day, it's their decision. And however they want to move forward, they need to move forward. And also, like you said, asking them, how are you feeling? What are you thinking? Where are you guys at? Showing that you care.
Yes.
And you can even remind them of your credibility, but the worst thing you can do is call and say, hey, just remember, I'm the pro here, right?
That would totally turn me off.
So credibility on Ethos looks more like going, hey, I just want you to know, we did actually get another one like yours under contract last week. And so I know that things are moving along. Now, you didn't say, hey, remember, I sell lots of houses.
Yeah.
But you did remind them that
I do have my ear to the ground and I am paying attention.
And yours isn't the only one that I'm working on. Mm-hmm. So I think you've got to remind them, hey, I care, I'm on your side.
Yes.
I think on the pathos is where we've got to ask them, hey, how are you guys feeling? Or, hey, it seems like you guys are getting a little bit on the frustrated side, which I totally understand. Yeah. What are some of the things really frustrating you guys right now about where we're at in the timeline? Mm-hmm. And then getting to logos.
The logic and the reason. Mm-hmm.
You've heard those before, presumably. Mm-hmm. Any other thoughts on how agents need to be thinking about that? Do you agree that we approach this typically?
Way too much logic and reason? Yeah. Way too much logic. I can be guilty of that for sure. Like, I want to give the information because in my mind it's helpful, but I kind of maybe ignore the other two. And I like the switch of those. I think that is a better approach to don't start with that. Like, let's just start with the, hey guys, this is my weekly, I'm checking in. I'm on your side, the credibility part. How are we feeling? Get to the pathos and then get to which completely makes sense.
To me, all starts with a correct understanding of what the point of this phone call is.
Exactly. Going back to the beginning.
Yes. I'm trying to build an advocate. 4 months from now, there's going to be a long, treacherous journey. And all I'm trying to do is keep us connected as two human beings, understanding the stress that you're under right now. Yeah. And putting your ego aside to be able to do that, because you've also got your insecurities, and you know that they're being frustrated sometimes in ways that are unjustifiable. And we've all had a situation where a seller was annoyed with us, and then later they weren't as annoyed because the outcome got solved.
Yeah, we are definitely guilty of hearing something and like feeling like, why are they even like, I don't even understand what they're thinking. Well, they don't know we are definitely guilty of responding. We get
annoyed, and it's a function of insecurity and defensiveness, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. So approach this with the right ideology, think ethos, pathos, logos, and then let's just get into what I'm advocating for, which I would say is highly systematic. Yeah. And do what you want with this. But when I, 1 billion years ago, sold real estate, I used to carry a lot of listings. I had north of 20 at most times. It was a different marketplace, but it's more like the one you're heading into. Mm-hmm. It was a 90 to 180 days on market, average marketplace. And you had to be systematic about it, because there's enough of them that you don't carve out the time and make it specific. It's not going to happen the way it should. Yeah. So I think this has to start by setting proper expectations. And I'm not talking about expectations of days on market and stuff like this. I mean, at the beginning of every listing, I'm communicating directly to them what the communication system will be. Yes. And that communication system is obviously, as we have showings, here's how you're going to get the requests. Yes. When we have showings, I'm going to try and get feedback from those agents, but I don't always get it right away. Sometimes it takes a while, and sometimes I can't get it from them. But I'm going to try my best. But I can't put a gun to their head. Yep. As whenever I've got pertinent feedback, you're going to hear from me as soon as I've got it. Yep. Because it's important to me that you hear what these people are thinking or what feedback we do get. But again, I cannot guarantee that on every single showing right away. Yep. But here's what I will guarantee. Every single week, and I want you guys to work with me to pick a day of the week and pick a time. We're going to schedule a weekly feedback time where I'm going to give you a call, and we're just going to hop on. If you guys want, we can do it on Zoom. If not, at least phone call. But I would love, if possible, to get you and Mike together on a weekly basis, or you and Sally, whatever it is. And my agenda for that will be to run through what I got done that week for you, what marketing we've accomplished, what changes we've made. I want to talk through what feedback or results we've been achieving. And that'll be our weekly opportunity just to discuss if there's any tweaks we want to make. Yep. And then the other thing, guys, is I want to set a flag now. And if we're listing the house today, around 21 days from now, what I'd really like to do is pre-schedule a time where we're going to get back together and review our entire strategy at your home. So in that script, I'm laying out so much. I'm preempting a whole bunch of frustration that they're going to have about why am I not getting feedback right away. I'm setting a stage for again, you can endure massive amounts of pain psychologically if you know when the end is gonna be coming. It's the uncertainty that kills people. And so what I'm trying to do is nip all that in the bud, lay out the journey and the groundwork for where we're headed. And all of that, again, is because I know how stressed these people are going to be through the process.
Absolutely. And I would suggest there too, like you say so many things in the pre-consultation and getting ready for the listing. A lot of times their brain's not necessarily hearing some of that. So I always recommend also putting that in writing after. So it's in my written communication email, like all of that, like this is how we're going to handle feedback. This is how many times I'm going to try to get it. And this is when our call is going to be each week and how we're going to handle that. So yeah, I put it in writing also because sometimes their brains are going a mile a minute about the listing.
I think that's genius. And I think that every seller should have a little binder or a manual that has all that stuff in it. If nothing else, for you to reference later on when they accuse you of saying something else. No, guys, here's, remember, we ran through this. Here's how we were going to handle that. Happy to make adjustments if you want.
Yeah.
But so give me your feedback on my suggested protocol. Again, I think this is not over the top, but I think it's notably systematic.
Yeah.
And I'm interested to hear how you would adjust this. So if I'm handling this call, here's how I'm going about the weekly call. First of all, it's scheduled. Yes. I'm trying to get both parties there every single time.
Key.
All the decision makers, frankly, if I can. And I'm showing up religiously, right? And if for some reason it has to get moved, it's like anything else. I find a way to reschedule it.
Yep.
I never skip. Step one. I'm going to start by stating the agenda. We do this at all the meetings we go to, and it's because we need people to know when the time is going to be for them to have questions, what we're going to be covering. So, I mean, I would say something like, hey guys, as usual, just for our call, I'm going to take about 10, 15 minutes. I want to give you guys an update on my marketing. I want to review kind of where we're at in the timeline, just discuss any questions or potential changes you guys want to make to the strategy. And then I would say, before we get started, just off the top of the bat, how are you guys currently feeling? It's been 3 weeks now. We listed on this date. It's been about this amount of time. Is there anything specific you guys are thinking or feeling, or that you want to make sure we discuss today as part of our agenda? And I think and then shut up.
Open the space
because it's early and you might not get honesty at this point, but you want to be incredibly clear. Think ethos, pathos. That my goal here is not to present to you. My goal is to have a two-way communication and find out what I can
hear
be doing
you.
even
I
better.
Understand you. Yes.
I then suggest that you do an actual activity review. Okay, guys, so let's just take a look at some of the data. It's been 3 weeks now, whatever it's been. In the last week, here's what we've had. So we had this many showings, this many inquiries, this many reverse prospecting opportunities on the MLS. And this amount of communication that's gone on with agents. So it's the data of what's occurred in the last week in terms of results and action and activity.
Yep.
I would then also cover, here's some tactical changes that have occurred in the competitive landscape. I would say, hey guys, I don't know if you remember the one on 5th Street, but I emailed it to you here just a couple of minutes ago before. That one did go under contract. If you remember, that one had 50 square feet less than yours. It was priced about the same as yours, and it looks like that one went under contract just yesterday. I did call that agent. I'm waiting for feedback on what that sold for. They may tell me, they may not, but I'm looking into that for you. Guys, what they're hearing at this point is my professional knows exactly what's going on. Their finger is on the pulse, on my home, and exactly what it's competing with. They're working ahead. The complaint that we get from sellers is they're like, I don't even know what you are doing.
Yeah, it seems all very reactive to them. It doesn't and nothing seems proactive unless you are taking those steps and communicating them.
And I would say maybe because the truth is we're
not being proactive.
And everything that I just described there in script format is exactly what we should be doing
100%.
For someone trusting us to sell their home. So a complete overview of activity. And that sounds like a lot, but I really want to ask you the question. If you were selling your house, if a full week had passed, that's 7 days of driving in and out of your driveway every day with maybe 0 showings or maybe 10 with no feedback or whatever it might be, a week is a long time.
Yes.
It's relative.
No, I know. I 100% agree with you.
Like
when they're the one living there.
100%.
Yes.
So I think intentionalize running through the activity. And guys, one more thing on this. If there's been 0 showings, 0 inquiries, 0 calls, and 0 communication, say so.
Yeah.
Don't hide from this. So guys, it's been a week. Since that last week, I've had no more showing requests. I've had no more online activity. Here's what I did do is where we're going to go.
Yep. That's next. Yeah.
But also, like,
don't hide behind that. You have to just say it.
the good or bad news is that also nothing has sold in your marketplace.
Yes.
So be prepared to actually have the data that tells the not the story you want to tell.
The story that is.
The story that is.
Yes. Yep.
So then I think you owe it to your client on a weekly basis. We've started with an overview of the agenda. We've checked in with them on how they're feeling. We've shown them the activity, the facts of what has gone on and transpired in the last week. I think we owe it to them then to say what we've been up to proactively. And when you skip this step is when our clients start to feel like we're just passively waiting for the next price reduction. Again, I think it's really important to state the timeline, remind them of the timeline that we agreed to up front.
Yep.
And then review whatever marketing efforts you've been engaged in. So I did get that open house scheduled for you guys a couple of weeks from now, or I got some results from the open house, or I've been doing I surveyed a bunch of agents at my team meeting. I represented your property at our team meeting and asked for feedback from the room. We did send those postcards out. I got those flyers updated. I made those tweaks on the website.
Yep. I put that post out. I paid for that ad to boost. This is how many eyeballs we got on that.
Here's some additional activity we got from the Golden Ruler that I sent you guys. The good news is we did have 50 odd new eyeballs on your property from our website. So it's not that people aren't seeing it. And so we're connecting the results we're getting to the activity that we've been engaging in.
Yep.
And this is tricky because there can be weeks where there simply isn't anything.
A whole lot more you can do in the promotion space sometimes.
Well,
or change.
Not that you can do that you actually know will help sell the house.
Yeah.
I mean, so maybe you can do some random things, but back to product price promotion, which we're going to talk about next week. Sometimes you know that there's nothing more you can do other than the video's there, the photos are there, the property's well presented, the description's good, it's on Zillow, it's on Realtor.com, it's on the MLS. The next step is the price reduction.
Yeah.
But I do think before we can ask our clients for price reductions, which we're getting to again in the future, we need to be able to demonstrate that we have exhausted all of our marketing opportunities.
Yes.
We're doing everything we can to create exposure.
Yep.
And I don't think that has to take 10 minutes.
No.
I think that's 2 minutes of just here's a few things I've been working on. Any questions on those? And then I think we need to always invite feedback. Hey guys, so based on the activity we're receiving, based upon the timeline that we established early on, based upon what your goals were when we started, I know I asked you this question a week ago, but I'm going to ask it again. Is there anything that you think we need to be tweaking? Anything you want to see me be doing differently? Or anything you want to adjust in your strategy so that we make sure we get this done effectively. And a great way to say that is based upon where we're at. How do you guys want me to proceed?
Yep.
So let me stop there for a second. That's a lot.
Yeah, it's good though.
Feedback, thoughts?
No, but I like you said, I think it doesn't need to be, this is not a super long drawn out, but the points that I would kind of just go back to, one, I feel like if there is going to be written communication around this timeline, I do imagine that being, maybe you could send some of this data, but like preemptively, like, and you kind of mentioned that in the script that maybe that is something that you would have done. I like to do that as far as just like the competitive landscape piece so that when we meet, we can talk through it, but they maybe already have had a chance to see it.
Especially if you've got an analytical seller and they're going to really want to see it and know it and understand it.
Yeah. So I think that like the logos part of the logic, the reason, like I think that part of it could be preemptively, brought to their attention. I think the check-in is the space that is, again, I said this, but often missed. So, I mean, I think that second step before you get into anything else was the one thing I really wanted to highlight again.
Because you just come in with you've got your presentation, you're nervous, you know you've got to have a tough conversation and
you're afraid to go, how are you feeling? Right? I mean, and I just like, that is the key that I want everyone to hear in all of this. Cause I think that is the thing that we maybe shy away from. And that is the win the advocate, get how they're feeling along the way so you can be on the same page.
It's the essential component.
Yes. Like, so I just feel like that if I were to say anything about this, I would maybe preemptively send something because that's just how I operate. And then make sure you leave the space for the feeling question. I think that's the main thing. And on the marketing and the timeline, that is what they've actually think they hired you for, right? So I think we are going to talk about the 4 Ps next week, and I am excited about that. But the promotion part of it is what they think they've hired you for mostly more than anything else. So if you are not doing things, you need to be doing things and you need to be talking about it. If they even seem small minutia, make sure you are talking about the proactive promotion that you are doing. I think we forget that sometimes too.
I don't take it for granted. So we think stupid things like, a bunch of people looked at the property on century21.com. We don't care because we know that mostly properties sold through the MLS and our agent colleagues. But to them, the fact that 50 to 100 people looked at their property online, that is a very powerful insight to the fact that there is exposure. And
or even like you said, you talked about it in your team meeting with your colleagues. Like that is something that we just do. I mean, but I feel like you should say it, right?
Well, I think we do that, and also we don't do that. And I'm including all those in the script in part because maybe what I'm doing is nudging all of you to suggest that you ought to be more proactive.
Yeah.
There is a degree of passivity to how we approach our listing marketing, especially given the fact that for many of us, a week or two was all it took.
Yep.
And a decent property at a decent price was going to sell. In this environment, maybe you need to be a little more intentional about trying to. I know it's a 1 in a million chance that you bringing up a listing at a team meeting is going to create a sale, but that's 1 in a million more than doing nothing.
Nothing. Yes. And so my last thoughts on this were just make sure then, besides the leaving the space for the feeling question, make sure you leave the space for, based on all of this information that we've talked about today, how do you want to proceed? And don't shy away from and I liked your question in there too. Like, I definitely think our agents shy away from what more can I be doing? What do you need from me?
They need to hear you say that.
Yeah.
You're afraid to say it because you're afraid that they're going to say something stupid like get me a billboard. But if they're thinking that they want a billboard,
they need to get out.
Let them say it.
Yes.
Because the goal is to win an advocate, and you cannot hide from this stuff. If they're thinking something stupid, they must have the opportunity to say it. And maybe they're thinking something smart.
Yeah, you weren't thinking of.
So it's about confidence is the wrong word, but you've got to be self-assured. You've got to know what does and doesn't sell houses, and you've got to run towards the danger. So,
and then I think if they do be proactive about then the next step. So that was the only thing I was thinking next to close out that weekly check-in is if there's something very specific that's asked for or whatever, do it and follow up with that right away. So those were my thoughts on that.
So then we've laid the groundwork here for a suggestion that we should preempt the notion of a 21-day, which is an
maybe
arbitrary
30,
number because
whatever.
we're Century 21, but really the idea is monthly. Years ago, I think we landed on 21 days as a notion really because the speed of the market warranted that 3 weeks was a pretty sufficient period of
test the
marketing
market.
time. Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And so I think you need to make a delineation on this depending on the price or the location of the property.
I agree.
Some of them, I think 30 days is plenty.
Yeah. Yep.
Others, I think 21 is a smarter move. And this is about how quickly do you know you need to make adjustments in order to not chase the market down. So, for example, coming into the fall, you might want to tighten up how often we have these monthly reviews. Yeah. Because we're going to be chasing the market down into a lower environment or a slower environment.
Yeah, and I'd almost think about it somewhat as a preemptive too, because sometimes they're going to digest that information and they're not going to be quite yet ready to make some of those adjustments, maybe. So, I mean, I'd like you said, kind of get ahead of that a little bit. So think of it as when do I want to have the conversation to really be able to go make that change if we need to.
Okay, so we're telling you all, we need you to pick up the phone once a week and make a active, scheduled phone call.
And I really like the idea of Zoom or Meet, honestly. Faces.
If you can get that done, it's going to be even better. And then we're saying every 21 or 30 days, and everybody shakes their head and says, what do you mean, in person? That's crazy.
Plan to go back to their house.
Physically go back to their house, schedule a meeting, meet them at the office, meet them for coffee, have them come here. I know it's asking a lot, but you probably don't have 30 listings. You probably have a handful.
You can
and
make
to
it
say
work.
that once a month, we're going to honor our clients with taking the professional time to go sit face to face, read the room, read the energy, feed into that energy, and react to theirs.
Yep.
It's really a no-brainer, guys. And I understand you're independent contractors and you can do this the way you want. But I'm telling you, if you want to win advocates, anytime I've got a tough conversation I've got to have, anytime I really need to get into someone's mind and understand where they're at, what they're thinking, you will not have me text you.
Yes.
If something's amiss, if something's wrong, I will ask you for a coffee. I will find out if there's a time that we can chat. I will get in my car and I'll drive to where you are. And it's because that's what works.
Yes.
So there's not much to say on this other than schedule this in advance, set the expectation that we're going to be looking at our strategy every 21 or 30 days.
Yep.
And then make sure that you've had the weeklies up front because you've laid all the groundwork at that point.
Yeah.
And then I think the 21 or 30-day review is really just, hey, guys, thanks for meeting. I appreciate you taking the time. I know you guys are super busy. I'm going to remind them of when we listed the property, it was at this date. It was at this time. It's been now this amount of time, 21, 42, however many days.
Yep.
And in that time, here's a quick summary of what we've seen, what the activity has been. I've given you guys the weekly updates, but here it is in a nutshell.
Yep.
Here's how the competitive landscape has changed. And here's who we're competing with right now. It's all the same stuff, but at a more global and 30,000 foot level. Mm-hmm. And then I think there's some additional questions, which is like, just so that I understand, based upon where we're at, have any of your timeline or pricing or whatever goals or objectives, have any of those changed from when we set out? Mm-hmm. Partly what I'm trying to do here is remind them of what their stated goals were, because who knows what's changed in their mind or what they've forgotten. But also I'm giving them an opportunity to reflect on the notion that they may be more in a rush now than what they thought they were going to be.
Yeah, because they're feeling it a little. They're like, oh, no, we had time. Now they're feeling different about that,
and they may be communicating that between themselves. They may not be. Mm-hmm. Your job is to pull that out. Mm-hmm. And then again, are there any changes you think we need to be making to our marketing plan? And I really want to be intentional about that. I'm using the word our marketing plan or our listing strategy. I'm doing that intentionally because we did agree to the plan up front.
Yes.
I'm the one like spearheading our strategy, but we're partners in this. It's your home. You pick the price, right?
Yep.
So our is a very intentional word there. And then obviously, are there any other questions? But guys, what I'm looking for here is I need to now show up with my work boots.
Oh, yes.
And if there's a suggestion, now is when I need to offer
Be
this.
ready. Yeah,
guys,
ready
based upon what I'm looking at here, it seems to me that we've been beaten out 3 times by properties that were very similar to ours, but they were priced just $5,000 to $10,000 lower. What I do know about them is that when they sold, 2 of them actually sold with multiple offers at slightly higher than asking. So here's my advice. It's up to you. It's your call. But if I was in your shoes right now, I would certainly be considering a price reduction to position us in this range, because I actually believe at that space, number one, we'll entertain more showings and offers, but we may actually end up netting more simply by positioning ourselves more aggressively, or whatever the script might be.
Yep.
Be open, be honest, be direct. But this is your time to do that. And it takes bravery, but it is the winning formula. And you cannot have that conversation with one of 2 people. And you cannot do that over the phone as effectively as you can in person.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. It sounds like a summation. So you kind of have the script, we've done it, we've practiced it. But this to me, the power of being back at their kitchen table, in their house, and possibly doing that second tour walkthrough, like based on some of our feedback, like here's some things that I would maybe suggest we do or change. I mean, like it's an opportunity to adjust that way. And then I really like that competitive landscape conversation, how we presented it before, where you lay out the active competitors and you talk about the changes that have been made. I think, yes, you cannot do that justice any other way but then in person. Yeah.
It's not fun bringing people bad news.
It seems like bad news, I feel like.
Especially because they probably started off, regardless of whatever you said about timeline, they always believe that their home is the one that's going to sell quicker.
Yeah.
It's just how we're wired.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's close out with just a few other quick tips that I think are worth thinking about. You've heard me say it a couple of times here, run towards the danger.
Yep.
And I think that's what I want you guys to hear on this. You cannot hide from the reality. The reality is it's taking a while. The reality is they're probably emotionally frustrated. The reality is sometimes things aren't going as well as they thought. You must open up the space for that to come out. It's your job sometimes it's not just because they're venting behind your back and secretly throwing lawn darts at your face. It's that they haven't processed. They're busy. They're working. And your job is to be the consultant that creates the space for them to think their strategy through and self-reflect and then self-realize, wait, if we're going to be in Texas in the next 2 months, we're already down a month. We're at this point in the marketplace. Our competition keeps selling, but ours doesn't. Honey, we need to make this change. Mm-hmm. So run towards the danger. Don't be afraid.
Yeah.
The other thing that you've said several times is, I guess the way I would describe it is consider the degrees of intimacy. And so in person is always going to be a better formula than even virtual.
Yeah.
But virtual is going to be better than phone and phone is going to be better than text or email.
Yes.
And like you said at the beginning, I think that we've become lazy, and it's not even just lazy. I think we've become afraid. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking of millennials and Gen Zs, and they're terrified.
Hide behind the words.
100%.
Yeah.
You cannot accomplish the goal that we're telling you need to accomplish through text messaging. Mm-hmm. And guys, I've seen it just way too many times. The number of lawsuits I've dealt with agents that are really a function of our failure to pick up the phone, schedule a meeting, and get face-to-face and talk things through, but instead have a bunch of back and forth over text that creates more and more tension and frustration. Understand that the job is not to give them the facts and the details. The job is to guide a human being through a stressful process. This is what they've actually paid you for. And your job is to know that that's what they're paying you for and not to buy into the lie that your job is to stick things on the MLS. Yes. That is not what they're paying you for.
Nope.
And then, I added some information here just about the 4 C's of communication that I think I have this written down in my journal. I always reflect back on it. I struggle with this because I talk too much, but the 4 C's that I always want to remind myself of is clarity, curiosity, concision, and candor. Clarity, be clear in what you say. Don't beat around the bush. Say it directly. Curiosity, learn to look for what they're thinking, what they're feeling. Ask better questions. Don't be just a presenter. It's not a PowerPoint.
Genuinely be interested.
Concision, Dylan. Be short and direct.
Me too.
And then candor. It makes me think
That's
of
my favorite one.
Radical Candor, great book. But shoot straight. Say what needs to be said. Don't run away from the danger.
Yeah, my favorite word is kind candor. There is a way to be very straightforward and still genuinely care, and it's more kind to be honest and direct than it is to avoid it. There's
nothing loving about allowing people to be self-deceived and 6 months from now be frustrated that they haven't sold their home.
Absolutely.
Final thoughts from you on the weekly update system and what our team could be doing better in this environment.
Yeah, I'll kind of go back to what I said originally. I think that it is something that we do really well, better than others tend to do, but I think we can really turn up the dial on this. And the way that we've presented it is the way to go about it, and really, really sit on the face-to-face, voice-to-voice, being in person. That level of intimacy that you said is just... That's the key shift I think a lot of our people need to make. And don't hide from what you think is bad. Just go do it. Have the conversation.
We're paid to be the professionals, expert advisors, trusted advisors. I think this is part of what gets us there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Appreciate you guys listening along. I love that we're spending the time together to think this through in this changing environment. And I think it's part of why I'm seeing so many of you guys win in this environment that we're in. And so keep up the hard work.
Yep.